On today's episode of the DuckZone503 Podcast, we're going to be talking about the recent transfer portal news and recruiting updates for Oregon football. Also, guys, Bucky Irving will play in the Fiesta Bowl, plus Troy Franklin declares for the NFL Draft. I'm your host, Dominiqk Peterson. This is the DuckZone503 Podcast, where we talk all things Oregon football. Let's get into it, people.
Welcome to the DuckZone503 Podcast. Talking all things Oregon football. With your host, Dominiqk Peterson. Let's go.
Welcome into today's edition of the DuckZone503 Podcast. Today is Sunday, December 17, 2023, and I am happy to be with you people. I'm joined by the one and only. He hasn't been on the show for a little bit now, but we got him back. Malachi Staten of the Ducks Focus Podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Hey, man, I'm doing awesome. We got a bunch of transfer portal news. We got a bunch of recruiting news. We got guys opting into the NFL. Let's get everybody caught up. Let's give our thoughts about certain transfer portal guys that we talked about. At least I did. I talked about on my last episode. And then we got some new guys coming on to campus that we're going to have to talk about. A bunch of guys coming on to come visit Oregon in the transfer portal. It's crazy. It seems like every time I wake up, every day I wake up in this month of December for the last 2 weeks, it's like, another guy's out. This is happening. It's hard to keep up with. So I've done my best to keep notes, get everything ready for the show. So stay locked in. Malachi's the guy to have on the show today, guys. I'm telling you why, because this guy's locked in with everything recruiting, transfer portal. He's the guy, man, that I come to. I'm like, hey, what's happening behind the scenes? Because what's this? What's going on? And pleasure to have him on the show, man. Where can we find your podcast if anybody wants to go check you out?
You can find me over on Instagram at DucksFocus, and you can find all my other socials on there. But mainly, I'm on Instagram, so go check out the Instagram.
Appreciate you guys, and make sure you guys subscribe here to the DuckZone503 Podcast. I'm trying to give you guys at least 2 podcasts a week here on the podcast, giving you guys recruit interviews with the players that Oregon is targeting, hopefully to get that going soon, and give you the latest updates on all our social media platforms, guys. If you're not following already, at DuckZone503, wherever you're on, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram is our biggest platform right now. Shout out everybody who follows us on there for the latest Oregon football updates. We also talk all things Big Ten ball as we enter as one of the newcomers to one of those prestigious conferences. Okay, topics of the day. What are we going to talk about? We got Dan Lanning and Oregon on fire, hitting the transfer portal. They're going to go after a few more guys. Here in the future, they went after a few more guys since the last time we talked. We also got updates on a few transfer portal targets that Oregon went after. Are they coming to Oregon? Are they not? We're going to talk about that. Bucky Irving, he's going to be playing in the Fiesta Bowl. Bo Nix is going to be playing in the Fiesta Bowl before they go on to the NFL Draft. James Crepea came out with reports on Twitter about that, so that's big time for the Ducks to get their 2 guys to play one last time. And legendary Oregon wide receiver Troy Franklin declares for the NFL Draft. We'll talk about how special he is, and is he the best wide receiver at Oregon to ever play? We're going to be talking about that, so make sure you're staying locked in here. Let's go ahead and start with the transfer portal, what everybody wants to talk about, who's Oregon going after, who we looking like we're going to get. Today, we're getting reports that former safety from Kansas State, Kobe Savage, Matt Zenitz of 247 Sports, I'm quoting him here, he says, quote, "The expectation is that former Kansas State star safety Kobe Savage is going to transfer to Oregon," sources tell 247 Sports. Now, look, I want to remind everybody, he has not came out with an official statement saying he is committed to Oregon, Kobe Savage himself. But if you got industry insiders like 247 Sports, on three Sports, right, reporting this stuff, I mean, these are guys that are pretty trustworthy most of the time. So if you got reports, it looks like it's going to happen. Savage participated in all 12 games this season and was credited with 57 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, and tied the team, led with 3 interceptions. Over a career spanning over 22 games, the 5'11", 207-pounder departed from the Wildcats and amassed 124 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 6 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, and a pair of forced fumbles. So I feel, in my opinion, somebody you're getting with Kobe Savage is an experienced guy in the backfield, in that secondary, and this is the safety position is somewhere where Oregon desperately needs to go after in the transfer portal. We knew this because we lost Evan Williams, we lost Brian Addison, earlier in the season, and and other safeties that are important, right? So it was very important that we go after the safety position and get somebody who's experienced, somebody who can possibly be a leader heading into the Big Ten, and getting a guy like, Kobe Savage, who has over 100 career tackles, over 7 career tackles for loss, 6 interceptions. I mean, this is a guy who's a disruptor who can definitely be a key player for the Ducks. What's your thoughts on Kobe Savage coming over to the Ducks, man?
Yeah, Kobe Savage, I mean, I was watching his highlights this morning. He is an elite football player, and he's going to make a massive impact here at Oregon. And, I mean, we're talking about his 3 interceptions. I mean, you watch this guy, and he's electric. He's all over the field. And I think that he's going to play, I mean, I know for a fact he's going to play a massive role for this next season for the Ducks. I mean, of course, nothing is confirmed yet that he's going to come to Oregon. There's no official post, but all signs are leading towards him coming to Oregon. So it's really exciting. It's a really good pickup for the Ducks, and it's a great momentum heading in to the transfer portal. We've already gotten Dillon Gabriel, and so this will be our second commit. And I'm really excited to see, his progression, how he plays here at Oregon. I think he fits in with our scheme great. And he's a hard hitter. I don't know, again, if you've watched his highlights, but this guy can fly around. He's a great athlete, and I'm just really excited to see him play here at Oregon.
Absolutely love it. And the thing that the 2 commitments we're getting, I think this is something that you're going to see in the transfer portal, is you're getting guys that are proven and guys that can be leaders and step right into those key roles like safety, like quarterback especially, and getting a guy like Dillon Gabriel has 5 years of experience, getting a guy, who's played 3 years at Kansas State in the backfield, in the secondary, playing big time football, and to get him right in is very good for the Ducks. We've seen the Ducks do this in their secondary with Christian Gonzalez, Kyrie Jackson, getting guys who are elite in the backfield. And, shout out Demetrius Martin, the defensive back coach for Oregon, having a great eye and going out there and being aggressive in the transfer portal and getting a guy. Now, I expect Oregon to still go after a couple more safeties, a couple more defensive backs. This won't be the only commit. I feel like I know we were talking about Andrew Makuba. Okay, Andrew Makuba, the safety from Clemson, was supposed to be coming on a visit. He's rated the number 1 safety in the transfer portal right now, and it was reported that he was supposed to be at Oregon and coming on a visit. Now, what I've heard is he did not make the visit, and it doesn't look like he will not be coming to visit Oregon anymore. Have you heard any rumblings about Andrew and where he's looking and why he might not be coming to Oregon?
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, right? In recruiting, it's always difficult. And right, he didn't take the visit, and it doesn't sound like he's going to. Sounds like, maybe there was another university that just came in and it kind of took him. Maybe, you never really know with these guys, and I haven't heard a ton, but it doesn't look like, that's where it's going to land for us. But, that's fine, because there's so many great players out in the transfer portal, and I think Oregon's going to continue to push for some other guys. And there's other guys that we'll be talking about later on today, right, that are phenomenal athletes. And so it's kind of sad to see, Andrew maybe not be coming out here. You never know, might still make the visit at some point. Oregon might, push for that. But as of right now, it doesn't look like we're going to be. So it's kind of sad, but
yeah. I mean, right after that report, like a day later after Andrew Makuba was supposedly supposed to be coming to Oregon and visiting, along with a bunch of other transfer portal recruits, we got the news that they offered the Kansas State Kobe Savage guy right after that. And for reasons probably NIL talks that weren't there for Andrew, maybe. I don't know. It's all closed door type of information. All we can do is assume, but it's okay. We like to have the number 1 safety in the country, of course, but I'm telling you guys, Kobe Savage, pure athlete, hard hitter, and maybe doesn't have the accolades that Andrew Makuba does, but this guy can definitely keep proving himself at another level here at Oregon. All right, let's move on here to Dante Moore, quarterback from UCLA. He was on campus this last weekend. A lot of talks about him coming to Oregon and all this. His former 5-star quarterback, once committed to the Ducks. Of course we have Dillon Gabriel, but the big picture here is some people might be asking, well, if we already got Dillon Gabriel, why are we trying to get Dante Moore? And some people don't like the guy because he decommitted to us and went to UCLA. And to each their own, how you want to feel. But I'm going to tell you right now that he didn't have the most impressive statistical season, but this is a dude who's still a true freshman that's one of the best players in his class coming up, and he just needs the right coaching, right development, and right team around him. I mean, imagine if he had the offensive line that Bo Nix had this season and had the opportunity to really flourish in a real offense, right? So he's going to go somewhere, and I promise you he'll be special. Now, the question is, does he want to play now like he did last year? Or does he see where he messed up a little bit and what people were telling him, hey, man, maybe you want to develop under one of the better quarterbacks in the country. Maybe you want to develop one of the under one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the country, and he could have done that under Bo Nix. Well, he decided to go to UCLA and struggled. Well, now he's seeing that Dillon Gabriel, he's going to have 1 year here. It's a one and done. Imagine you can learn under him and develop under him and get camaraderie and leadership with your teammates for 1 year. And then in that second year, when Dillon Gabriel's gone, you have Dante Moore step up and be your quarterback for the next 2 years, possibly. And then you got to remember, Akili Smith, bringing up recruiting, 2025 quarterback will be coming in, while Dante Moore could possibly be the starter while Akili Smith develops under him. So you see what Dan Lanning is doing here at the quarterback position. But, how do you feel about Dante Moore? And what's your position on this?
Yeah, you talked about Dante being okay with sitting and learning. And something that you're hearing Dante say actually right now a lot is that he's okay with going and developing. He wants to go and develop, because I think he realized last year, right, maybe him sitting back and learning behind a really good quarterback going to be beneficial for the future, which I 100% think is. And when we originally were recruiting Dante Moore, right, Oregon fans, you were excited. We were excited to see how this kid would perform. And I think developing behind Bo would have been great for him. And I think then, developing behind Dillon Gabriel this year would have been even better, right? Two of the best quarterbacks possibly, in college football over the next couple of years he could have sat behind and learned from. It's what it is. Now he's out here visiting, I believe right now or this week, he's visiting, and I'm excited. I think that we have a very, very good shot at getting Dante Moore, and I think that he could be really great in the future. I think he just kind of rushed a little bit too fast into college football. I really think he could be a great athlete. I know he could be a great athlete, and I think the development is just something that he didn't have, right? Because he just jumped straight into it. We talked about UCLA's quarterback position earlier before the season. We talked about who they would go with. They played Dante in a couple games. We saw the stats, weren't the best, but again, I think if he comes to Oregon, gets this offensive line, gets the weapons that Oregon has, I think he really could thrive. And I'm excited to see what he ends up doing. But I really think that we have a good shot at getting Dante Moore. So
100%. And I think landing Dante Moore, the quarterback position is the most important position in sports, arguably. And landing Dante Moore, we've seen this with Oregon. It's been like, okay, we've got Anthony Brown. We got this transfer quarterback. We got this like we've been going after transfer quarterbacks, and it's been like, okay, now what's our future like? Getting Dante Moore locks in your future at quarterback position, because you got Akili Smith and Dante Moore for the future. You got, Dillon Gabriel, one of the best quarterbacks. He's already, I think he was number 3 on three's early 2024 Heisman players they're ranking, and he was number 3. And he's he's a 5-year quarterback, over 40 plus touchdowns overall this last season. So you get him, you get Dante Moore, a 5-star quarterback, you get Akili Smith, who might be a 5-star quarterback when it's all said and done. I mean, the quarterback position, you could take that as Dan Lanning and be like, look, we got our guy on offense for the next 4 or 5 years. So you could go to wide receivers, running backs, O-linemen, and be like, and you see what this Oregon offense was this year under Will Stein. I mean, this could be a big move, honestly, if Oregon was to land Dante Moore. All right, let's go here to Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith, number 1, on a lot of people's boards, number 1 transfer portal player overall, not just D lineman, but player. This guy is like the most sought after guy in college football. He did take a visit to Oregon. I heard it was pretty successful to some reports. I heard he really liked it. But look, this guy's really sought after, and he's coming from the South, Texas A&M. So a lot of Southern schools are going to go after him, and one of those Southern schools are Ole Miss, which unfortunately there's been a couple of crystal balls for Nolan Smith to go on to Ole Miss after his visit there. So we're going to keep close eye on that. I'm not saying the Ducks are out of it, but as of now, it's looking like the Ducks are kind of falling out of competition for the number 1 transfer portal prospect.
Yeah. As for Nolan Smith, I think he came onto campus. Him and his family both really liked Oregon. It seemed like when he was leaving, Oregon was in a really good spot. But again, it's coming down to NIL, right? And that comes in a big factor, and it's just a factor in transfer portal, recruiting nowadays. And not that Oregon doesn't have the money, right? They could, but I think Ole Miss right now, they're just doing really well. I would say, honestly, right now, they're definitely a team winning the transfer portal right now. And it's just one of those things where I think it comes down to NIL and also, the players that have been recruited there, who are the players that are going to the teams, right? And I think Nolan Smith, he really enjoyed Oregon, but I still think that the crystal ball is Ole Miss. They're playing a factor. I wouldn't say Oregon's completely off the table, but I don't know if I would like how right now we're leaning towards. But again, you never know. Again, it's a crazy world when it comes to transfer portal. You never know what's going to happen. So all of a sudden we could have a crystal ball or maybe not. So it really, you never know. You really never know.
Yeah, man. And my bad. The chat's getting on us right now. I said it too. It's Walter Nolan, not Nolan Smith. Okay. I've been saying it the whole time, bro. Hey, look, Walter Nolan. It's hard to look. All I know is it's a Nolan and it's an elite defensive player.
It sounded off.
Thank you, chat, for letting us for getting us on that. Yeah, I mean, I've been the whole week I've been saying Nolan Smith, because when I hear Nolan and I think of an elite defensive player, I go straight to Nolan Smith. Thank you, chat, for that.
I should have known that.
Yeah, my bad. Okay,
bad.
Let's go here. Cyrus Allen, wide receiver out of Louisiana Tech. Wide receiver. A lot of people are asking, like, why are we going after a wide receiver? We got so many elite wide receivers. Jerrion Dickey, Kyler Casper. We got Trayshawn Holden, Gary Bryant Jr., possibly Tez Johnson coming back. We're loaded. But wide receiver one, the greatest wide receiver in history, Troy Franklin, is off to the NFL. He's gone. So we're basically just trying to fill that role. Now, if Oregon doesn't land an elite transfer portal wide receiver, am I going to say, oh my gosh, we're screwed, as if we didn't land a quarterback, or as if we don't land a safety, right? That's positions where we definitely need based off numbers alone, just off depth. Now, wide receiver, that's not the case. We can go without a transfer portal. This is more of like a commodity, in my opinion. It's more of a commodity position if you're land this guy. And Cyrus Allen, eventually, I think it was just yesterday, or it might have been today, where he committed to Texas A&M. So Louisiana Tech, Cyrus Allen, wide receivers, off to Texas A&M. Oregon misses out on this one, and unfortunately, with that miss, there's just not a lot of wide receivers left. Not a lot of good ones, at least, to put it simply. So Oregon, it looks like they might have to wait till the spring. Might have to go look to recruiting to flip some guys, and we'll talk about a certain recruit that they may flip, a certain 4-star recruit, and pivot there instead of getting a transfer guy. So we're going to see how it works, but Oregon is looking to add at the wide receiver position. That's evident, going after one of the top wide receivers in the transfer portal, but they do miss out on that one. So out of these 5 guys, out of Kobe Savage, out of Dante Moore, out of Walter Nolan, out of Andrew Makuba, out of Cyrus Allen, they did get Kobe Smith. So far, it sounds like they're missing out on Andrew Makuba, and Cyrus Allen's off to Texas A&M. So we're going to keep eyes on Dante Moore. We're going to keep eyes on Nolan Smith, even though he has a crystal ball to Ole Miss, and those 2 guys. Now, there's some new transfer portal targets that Oregon's going after since we last talked. I'd like to start out with the small one that a lot of people don't even really know. Let's start with running back Jay Harris out of Northwest Missouri State. Now, I'm going to be real with you guys. I have no idea who this is. I haven't seen a lot of tape, but I have read about him. And what I can say is that this dude is 6'2", 215 pounds. Who did we just lose in the transfer portal? Dante Dowdell, that was around that same frame. He was a big, bruising, physical runner, right? So I feel like this is the type of role that we're looking to give this guy if he comes into Oregon, right? We need a guy who's at the goal line, a physical runner, and that's what Dante Dowdell was really planned to be. This guy has pretty damn well good numbers. He rushed for 1,433 yards and 14 touchdowns on 244 carries this season, while averaging 6 yards per carry. Now, I get it. It's Northwest Missouri State competition, but to rush for 1,400 yards on 6 yards per carry, dude, I mean, wow. This dude it must be a monster, man. I can't wait to see what he looks like because I've only read about him. Harris earned first-team All-MIAA honors and made a list with 38 other student athletes from across the nation that have been nominated for the 2023 Harlan Hill Trophy, and that is the Division II College Football Player of the Year. So this guy's like LeBron James of Division II college football, just dominating, going for 1,400 yards. Get out the way. I mean, 6'2", 215. I mean, how would you feel about bringing in a guy like this? I'm excited, man.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think it's exciting. I think he'd be a great fit. It was sad to see Dante Dowdell leaving. I was a little bit sad about that, but I mean, that room is so deep. We have so many guys, in there, and to bring this guy in would be a massive, bonus for us. And I'm loving our running back room already, but if we bring him in, I'm loving it even more. I mean, I'm excited to see what this guy can do because as you just said, those stat lines, I mean, I haven't watched a ton of film on him, but he seems electric. He sounds electric, and I like how that sounds. So I'll take him.
Take him. Heck yeah, man. He's big. He's big, dude. Man, he reminds me of this. Like, we probably got Noah Whittington, George James coming back, right? There's going to be our 1-2 punch most of the time. But you remember, like, Cyrus Habibi-Likio, how he'd always come in near once we pass that 20-yard line, there comes Cyrus Habibi-Likio because he's our red zone goal line back. That's who he was, and that's who I feel. What was his name? Jay Harris out of Northwest Missouri State could be. So guys, keep an eye on that name, Jay Harris out of Northwest Missouri State, big time running back. Obviously, he's not coming in to be a starter or anything. He's not like a big, he's got numbers like a starter. He probably could work his way up there, but I do feel like Noah Whittington and Jordan James are going to be our 1-2 punch next year. But he could definitely take that role that Dante Dowdell could have been. And Dante Dowdell did transfer. It is unfortunate. A lot of people did want to see what he could do. But I think the thing with him is he's looking up and he's seeing Jordan James, Noah Whittington coming back for another year. It's probably something he didn't expect. And he's not going to get another opportunity until his junior year to really showcase his skills. So he's looking for playtime. That's really what I read out of it. So in my opinion, that's all respect, man. If that's what you want and there's not an opportunity here, look, this running back room is deep. It's good. And his father came out on Twitter and said it. He's like, look, the reason why we're leaving, man, is he's not going to get an opportunity for his junior year. And Oregon has a good problem. Guys are leaving because this team's so damn good. Guys don't have an opportunity. And with the transfer portal, I don't blame him. Look, if I was a dude who I feel like I have an opportunity, I'm really good. I was killing it in high school, but there's 3-4 dudes above me on the depth chart. I'm bouncing, man. I got to get some tape on the film before it's too late. So all respect to Dante Dowdell. I hope he's successful. # once a duck, always a duck. All right, let's talk about offensive lineman Caden Green out of Oklahoma. This is a big-time transfer portal offensive lineman. This is one that came to a big surprise to Oklahoma. Not a lot of people seen him entering his name in there. A lot of people seen him as a big piece of the future for the Sooner football. So this is a big one, man. One of the more intriguing names in the transfer portal. He's been targeted by Oregon and reportedly took a visit this last weekend. And as a true freshman, Green is one of the top players for the Sooners, as I just mentioned. He started 7 games in 2023. He played in 11 out of 12 of them. He primarily played at the left guard position, but there's been reported that he's had the ability to go to the tackle position as well. So this is a guy that's not just going to play guard. If it's needed, he can go to the tackle position. Now, Oregon, I think they're pretty secure at those tackle positions. I think, they got Josh Connerly. They got a Johnny Cornelius, who I'm sure is going to come back. And then at the guard position, you had Stephen Jones leave. So you're looking to fill that role that Stephen Jones had, a longtime starter here, to replace him with a young up-and-comer that started at somewhere like Oklahoma and played really good football. I mean, according to Pro Football Focus, Green had a passing blocking grade of 71.4 as a freshman. As a freshman to have that good of a passing grade. So this guy is killing it. We all know that Caden Green can fill that Stephen Jones role real nicely. And we all know that connection to Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel is his quarterback at Oklahoma. So to have that connection here, he just came to campus at Oregon. We know how visits can really lure recruits here, transfer portal recruits as well here, how beautiful it is on campus, all the tools they have at their disposal. And I feel really good at Oregon landing Caden Green, just based off the connection of Dylan Gabriel and him. I really think they might be close. I think that's a big reason why he went into the transfer portal. I don't think there's any reason why he would. He has a starting position there. He was locked in. Sooner fans seen him as like a real building block, like a Josh Connerly for the future of that offensive line, and he bounces. So this could be a huge pickup at the guard position for the Ducks heading into next year.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Caden Green is actually one of the guys, we're talking a lot about right now, like 3 maybe, recruits possibly committing in the next 4 to 5 days. I think Caden Green is one of those 3. I think I love how we sit with him right now, and I definitely think that he's probably going to end up here at Oregon. I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood, but I do think, he's going to be a Duck, and I'm excited for that. I mean, you watch some of, the film he played, I believe, in 10 games, and he was just phenomenal. I mean, he is great at what he does. And I mean, that's what we want, right? We want that offensive line to be strong. And I think that connection with Dylan Gabriel is playing a massive factor in his decision to come here. And I think that he will be great on our offensive line. I think he's going to make up some of the position of the offensive lineman that we're losing. And it's one of the points of need. Actually, I was writing it down as a point of need for us just to get some guys in there, get some fresh blood in our offensive line. And I think he's going to do just that. And I think he'll be a right away automatic, kind of starter and, really fill in that position. So I'm excited to hear that hopefully in the next couple of days. So yes, sir.
100%. Yeah. Building those trenches, man. And Caden Green could be a big part of that. Talking about building those trenches, let's move on here to defensive lineman Derek Harmon out of Michigan State. There's been reports that this big time defensive lineman, he stands, how big is he? 6'5", 320 pounds, according to the Michigan State athletic network. And man, this guy is huge. And this interior defensive lineman, you talk about needs. Ducks, they need interior defensive linemen. Whole bunch of them, man. They got Brandon Dorless. They got Casey Rogers, Taki Taimani. These are three guys that had a lot of production, a big time role in that interior defensive line. So to get a guy like Derek Harmon, who's been playing 3 years with the Spartans with lots of experience, because there's a lot of young guys that are going to step into bigger roles. Don't get me wrong. A lot of the young guys, like Mike Gardner. A lot of those young guys that came in that 2023 class, Terrence Green, a lot of those guys are going to have to step up, and to have a guy like Derek Harmon, who's been playing lots of college football, and teach them and take them under his wing will be huge. Harmon visited the Ducks last weekend. In 25 games as a Spartan, Harmon tallied 71 total tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks. 6'5", 320 pounds. This guy's going to be much wanted across the country. He's fresh off visits to Auburn and Ohio State, some big ass schools that are going after him for sure. And he's going to explore his options in the transfer portal. He has 1 season of eligibility remaining. So this would be awesome for the Ducks to land him just based off his experience alone, because there's going to be a lot of young guys taking up a lot bigger roles next season from this 2023 class. And to have a big guy like this right there, a big leader, would be awesome to have. Kind of like a guy like Brandon Dorless, his role as a leader in that defensive line, he's able to take that up. What do you think about Derek Harmon? Have you seen any of his tape? And off reports, what's kind of your vibe on the Ducks landing him?
Yeah, no, Derek Harmon, I think he's a great guy. And we talk about our incoming defensive line class, and I call it the master class of Ducks defensive line, because we have a lot of good guys coming in. We still have Mateo Yu, but coming in we have Elijah Rushing. Why am I not remembering the other guy's name right now? But we have another one that I love.
Jackson Jones.
Jackson Jones. Yeah, he's another.
Yep.
We just have a lot of defensive linemen that are coming in that are going to be really great. And I think having Derek Harmon there to teach these guys, as you just said, is going to play. It would help out a lot, and it'd be massive for these guys in their development for the future. And so I think, bringing him in would be massive for the Ducks. And I think he would have good production this upcoming season. Fits again in the scheme well, similar to Kobe Savage. So I really like him. As for how I feel about bringing him in, I think there's a good shot. I don't know if this is one that I would say in the next 5 days, like I just said, about the 3 coming in. I don't think he's one of those. I think it might take a little bit longer. As you said, he's coming off of visits. And so, I still think he's kind of leaning. He's kind of seeing, his options, getting a feel for what's out there, where his possible destinations are. But I do like how the Ducks sit with him right now. I think the Ducks might start pushing a little bit harder in the next couple of days. You can see that. I think they're starting to make a push already for quite a few guys. You're starting to hear a lot of names circling, and that's what's happening. Is the Ducks coaching staff right now is pushing, trying to get these guys to come in. So I think he's one of them that you could possibly see maybe in a couple weeks. You'll start hearing, where he's going to probably end up. And I think the Ducks have a really good shot at that. So
100%, man. I think honestly, they also got Aiden Breland coming in. We didn't mention him.
Aiden Breland, that's who I was thinking about. That's who I was thinking about.
Aiden Breland. Yeah. And he's going to be huge. But I think the biggest thing that the Ducks need is, a huge thing is, getting guys from the transfer portal and getting, but a big thing that a coach can do is retain talent, keep guys from the NFL draft, keep guys from going. And I think Jordan Birch, if we were able to keep him on that D line for another year, that'd be absolutely awesome, man. That would keep hopes high for that D line for sure. 100%. Okay, guys. So this video is brought to you by Mojo Fantasy, guys. If you don't know about it, I'm absolutely in love with Mojo Fantasy. It's a crazy new app that turns sportsbook odds and selections into fantasy contests. Here's how it works, guys. There are thousands of NFL and MLB player props. You build a portfolio, and the better your portfolio performs, the more cash you win. Pick as many props as you want and try to beat the crowd. It's a whole new way to play fantasy. The props act like stock, so you can buy and sell live all game long. It's the only fantasy app that lets you make moves after the game starts, so you're not stuck with a bad pick. You can cash in on a hot start or hang on and just let them ride. Cash contests are based on real sportsbook odds. Get the same live player, prop selection, odds, and cash outs as Mojo's New Jersey Sportsbook. You can trade sports just like stocks. You control the action, ride your picks, cash out, or enter new positions instantly. And there's no house advantage. This is my favorite part. If you know ball, you build the biggest portfolio and you win cash prizes. It's that easy. It's not like you're going against a casino. None of that. You're going against other guys. And if they're dumb, if they're just dumb at football, they don't know nothing, and you know everything, put your money in there and you go up on the leaderboard and win more money. That's it, guys. Make picks, make moves, make money. Download now on the Apple App Store and use my code DuckZone for a 100% deposit match up to $100. So you can spend $100, lose it, you'll get it right back if you lose your bet. So go ahead and do it. Use my code DuckZone. Gamble responsibly. Link in the description below. Link in the bio if you're watching on Instagram. Appreciate everybody for tuning in here. I'm with my boy Malachi Staten of the Ducks Focus podcast here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, man. I'm Dominiqk Peterson, host of the DuckZone503 Podcast. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. All right, we're going here. We're keeping it going. We got transfer portal targets that Oregon is going after. We got defensive back Tyreek Chappell from Texas A&M, another defensive back, another secondary position that's majorly needed. And we've seen a lot of guys from Texas A&M leaving that program after the firing of Jimbo Fisher. Just a couple years ago, they had the best recruiting class ever in history. So a lot of these athletes coming from Texas A&M, Dan Lanning is going after. So this is good. Chappell was a 3-year starter since he stepped on campus during the start of the 2021 season for the Aggies. And although he's slightly undersized on an outside corner, the Pennsylvania native recorded 106 tackles, 75 solo tackles, 23 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions from 2021 to 2023. So this is a guy who right on campus at Texas A&M started, no doubt about it, put up a bunch of production, and is just another veteran player that I feel like I said this at the beginning of the video. This is the time where through the transfer portal, you need veteran leadership, you need guys with experience, and this is another one of those guys at the defensive back position. His teammate Walter Nolan also visited Oregon a week ago. So if Oregon's maybe able to add Tyreek Chappell, maybe that can persuade Walter Nolan a little bit to follow his teammate to Oregon. So, what are you thinking about Tyreek Chappell? And, how do you think he could fit into the defensive back room if he was to come to Oregon?
I like Chappell. I mean, I think that cornerback is a very big position of need. It's another one of those position of needs for me. I think you kind of saw we weren't bad at cornerback this year. It was a big improvement from last year, but I still think we could take it to the next level and really be elite. And I think, Chappell would be a piece coming in that could help us be elite at that position. And I think it does have, an impact on Walter Nolan. I think that could also be beneficial in bringing him in. But I think just as a player, I like him. He put up good production, and I think Oregon, I think it's a little bit early right now in his, transfer portal recruitment, but I think, he could be good. He could be good 100%.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where he goes. We'll see what kind of visits he takes, but at least Oregon's getting early in his recruitment, getting that seed planted in his head, right? All right, let's go here. We knew the safety position is a major position in need. The whole secondary needs a lot more experience, a lot more depth. And we landed Kobe Savage. We talked about that earlier in the podcast if you're just joining in. So Kobe Savage was a huge transfer portal commit. Nothing official from himself yet, but there's been official reports out there from, industry insiders. So we'll see in the next 24 hours or so if we get an official commitment from Kobe Savage. But nevertheless, if it's true, which I'm assuming it's true, big time addition to the Ducks. And another big time guy they're going after at the safety position is Corey Ellington out of Mississippi State. The Ducks appearing to, they're missing out on the number one transfer safety, Andrew Makuba. This is a nice pivot from the Oregon coaching staff going after Mississippi State safety Corey Ellington. His former Mississippi State teammate, cornerback DeCamerion Richardson, arrived last Wednesday. He visited the Ducks. So Ellington, the safety Ellington, played in 31 games across 3 seasons. for the Bulldogs. He started in 7 games in 2023. He recorded 66 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. He set a career high with 12 tackles in the season finale on Thanksgiving. Ellington has a reliable presence for the Bulldogs in the secondary for years, and he would be an immediate veteran presence, likely capable of starting from the jump wherever he ends up landing. He also played some cornerback earlier this year, an intriguing spot for 6'3" Ellington to try to use his length for an advantage, and this is something that Triquez Bridges had. 6'3", long corner, long arms, and he played in and out of the starting lineup. Ellington kind of sounds like the same player. 6'3", uses his length for an advantage, lots of experience, started 7 games, so it sounds like he started some, was out of the lineup some. I don't know if he had any injuries due to that or what, but it doesn't sound like this guy's a real star, but it sounds like a definite nice role player to bring in, a nice depth piece that has experience, because he came in as a 3-star prospect. He's a 1,014th overall recruit in 2021, so not a huge recruit coming in. Didn't start necessarily a lot for them. He started more than half the season, but towards the end of the season, he finished with a career high 12 tackles in the season finale. So looks like he's coming on hot. Looks like this is a guy with a lot of potential. Could be a nice piece to add after losing Triquez Bridges. What do you think about safety Corey Ellington?
Yeah, not a ton to say here, but I think, he would make good for depth, and that's something that we really need. I just said, cornerback, safety, secondary in general, it just needs more depth. We need more talent, or not talent, but more guys there, and I think Corey Ellington would be massive there. 6'3", you always like height. You would like that in our secondary, so it'll be interesting to see, where he ends up going, but as of right now, not a ton, I feel like, really out there about, visits and about him in general, but, I think I'd love to bring him on the team and see what he's got. So
100%. And he's got his teammate, and this would be big. I think this is something we could see, we see this a lot, is his teammate DeCamerion Richardson out of, Mississippi State. Both of them are teammates. And DeCamerion Richardson, he spent his last 4 years at Mississippi State. He stands 6'2", 195 pounds. He's a defensive back, and he played in 45 games for the Bulldogs. He recorded 177 tackles, 10 pass breakups, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. He was graded the number 4 cornerback in the SEC for the 2023 season, according to Pro Football Focus. So that's big time, man. Playing in that conference and grading out that well as a top 4 corner. I mean, this could be a big-time get for Dan Lanning at the corner position. Richardson graded out with an 86.5 coverage grade. That's almost an A. That's definitely top 4 in the SEC. I could see why. And then against the run, 73.6 grade. Absolutely insane. 74.8 pass rush grade on 781 total snaps. So this guy, proven, 781 snaps played, and has grades like that. This guy's definitely a plug-and-play guy. We're losing Kyrie Jackson, okay? And the Ducks have done very well bringing in corners, elite corners, starting with Christian Gonzalez when we've seen him come in. Then we just bring in Kyrie Jackson. He's off to the NFL. This guy, Corey Ellington, looks like another guy we can bring in, make him go to the NFL, and this guy is elite, man. Just top 5 in the SEC, and then you got his teammate, the other safety. That could be a nice depth piece, a nice addition. I mean, pairing these two together will be absolutely awesome, and I want to show you guys real quick, if I can. Let me pull this up right here. Boom, there he is right there in a Duck uniform, guys. We got our guy, Corey Ellington, looking real nice in these Duck unis. So, look, man, in 31 games, he's been absolutely insane for the Bulldogs, man. Oh, man. DeCamerion Richardson, his teammate, was also on campus, so can't wait to see if these guys pair up, and they look good in Oregon uniforms. There's also another guy that this is the last transfer portal guy that we'll talk about, kicker Atticus Sappington out of Oregon State, the Oregon State kicker. He's, shout out Central Catholic. I'm out here in Portland, so Central Catholic High School, Central Catholic grad. He was the Beavers' regular kickers the past 2 seasons. Sappington has 2 years of eligibility remaining. Excuse me. Sappington hit 13 of 14 field goals attempts this season. his longest coming from 48 yards. He also had 54 kickoffs, 34 going for touchbacks. So in his career, he's 18-21 on field goal attempts. This is a huge get if Oregon was able to land a kicker, because we all know that Camden Lewis, really struggled towards the end of the season, and eventually kind of lost us a game, because this is in that kick against Washington. We could have tied it. We could have went to overtime. Oregon had all the momentum in that game. Now, I don't want to put all the blame on Camden Lewis, but we could have kept that game going and eventually probably won it the way the game was going if he would have just made his field goal, did his job. And everybody all seeing was like, we need to get a kicker. And we got a 5-star kicker out of West Lynn, a freshman coming in. That he looks to be legit, man. 5-star kicker, you don't see a lot of those. But the thing is, he's a freshman. He's young, and there's a lot of pressure on freshmen. This guy's a proven kicker, 2 years of eligibility remaining, and then you got your other backup kicker. And look, if the freshman kicker's better, start him. But let's bring in some competition. Let's see who the better kicker is, because Oregon will definitely need a better kicker for next year. How excited are you that we might get a kicker in the transfer portal?
I'm excited. I know Camden. I love Camden. No hate towards him at all. Great guy. But I will say I think all Oregon fans were a little bit wanting another kicker by the end of the season. I'm thankful for what Camden did in his time here, but I am excited to get another kicker and see what he can do. I think possible kicking battle between all of our kickers, because we're bringing in like 4. But anyways, yeah, I think it's exciting to see what could possibly happen with that. So I want a kicker.
So that kind of covers the transfer portal guys right there. Kicker Atticus Sappington out of Oregon State. Defensive back Camrion Richardson out of Mississippi State. His teammate safety Corey Ellington out of Mississippi State. Defensive back Tyreek Chappell out of Texas A&M. Defensive lineman Derek Harmon out of Michigan State. Offensive lineman Caden Green out of Oklahoma, and running back Jay Harris out of Northwest Missouri State are a few names to keep looking after we end this video, because the transfer portal is the wild, wild west, man. People can just up and leave, commit whenever they want. It's crazy out here. All right, let's get into some recruiting notes. This is something that you're really tapped into, is recruiting. You as well get recruit interviews on your channel regularly and get those guys intel and what they're excited about to be Ducks, and that's awesome, man. And you're really connected, so I'm glad to bring you in here for this part. 2024 4-star defensive back Dakota Fields visited Oregon this past weekend. 6'2" corner. He's a corner, and he has the chance to meet up with his future coaches, Dan Lanning, Demetrius Martin. They also went out there to Southern California, where he's from, and seen him out there. The coaches this whole month, the past 2 weeks, have been all over the country seeing recruits. It's getting around the early signing day period coming up here, and people are signing their NLIs to go lock in their spots and get on campus early. And this is around that time where people start flipping recruits as well. And we'll talk about a certain recruit that Oregon's trying to flip. But for now, we'll talk about Dakota Fields getting visited, getting locked in. There's also, I've seen pictures of Aaron Flowers, 4-star safety commit, Dylan Williams, 4-star linebacker commit, Kamar Mathudi, another 4-star linebacker commit, a bunch of guys across the country getting visits at home from these coaches. And that just really shows that the coaches are serious about them, that they really want them out here at Oregon. And to get these home visits is really important for a lot of these recruits. And Dakota Fields is one of those guys, and he also came up to Oregon with all these other transfer portal guys. So that could be a thing where he's like, look, guys, I'm committed. This is what's cool about Oregon. You guys, the transfer portal commits, can really, bolster this team. So come on in. And that was awesome to see Fields come on. He plans to enroll early on January 8th after playing in the Adidas All-American Bowl. So that's going to be cool to see. When he arrives in Eugene, he'll reunite with some of his longtime friends. He's got, Dalen Austin is a guy on this team that he's friends with. Roderick Pleasant is, a former corner that he's really close with. So it's good to see those guys come together and, really, see and come together in college and really make the dream happen. Dakota Fields is a 4-star defensive back, number 80th nationally, number 7th defensive back in the country, number 8 in California. So this guy's borderline 5-star kid, and it's going to be important. It's going to be important to lock him in, and I think he's all about Oregon. This was a USC versus Oregon fight. I think he was one time committed to USC, if I'm correct, and it's gonna be fun to see. There's also a flip that we could be watching here. This is a quote from Max Torres of Sports Illustrated. He's the one that break the news for everybody, so shout out him. He said, quote, I'm told that the staff continues to, quote, feel good about their chances to flip 2024 Ohio State wide receiver commit Jeremiah McClellan after doing an in-home visit out in St. Louis recently. However, for what it's worth, I'm also hearing there's some hesitation due to distance. Now, Jeremiah McClellan, he's the number 49th national player in the 2024 class, number 13th wide receiver, number 3 player in his state. So he's an Ohio State commit. He's been committed since August, but Oregon was really locked into his recruitment, really, really deeply connected to him. And this one that the staff feels good about possibly flipping. Now, he lives, a lot closer to Ohio than he does Oregon. I think his home state is Missouri. So Oregon's far away. And I think his family, this always plays tough for Oregon's on big-time recruits because Oregon is all the way in the Pacific Northwest. A lot of the big-time recruits are either in Southern California, which that's like a lot of where Oregon gets the recruits from, or in the South. That's where you got to go, is in the South. And the South is far, far away. And a lot of times, a lot of parents don't want to give their 18, 22-year-old kid away 2,000 miles away. So that's a big deal, but we're going to keep our eye on that. Max Torres is letting us know that the staff feels good. Any recruiting reports you want to put out there? I know you kind of cover this stuff closely, and any flips that you might keep an eye on, any guys that you might think that might flip from the Ducks. And we also seen a couple of decommitments from them, but that's like Michael Van Buren. We've seen decommitment from Jordan Anderson. So you want to give us any intel, any kind of recruiting notes that you have for us, man?
Yeah, so Jeremiah, I think Oregon sits really, really well with him right now, and I think he would be my guy if I had to choose, a player to flip to Oregon. He would be my guy. We saw Jordan Anderson leave, which actually could be a connecting dot. We don't know that 100%. But, if you find out that maybe there's another guy coming in, we kind of talk about getting film out there, right, going to a place where you can develop. Our wide receiver room is already pretty deep. So, there's always possibility with that. That's not, confirmed. We don't know that. But I do like where we sit with Jeremiah. As for people flipping from Oregon, I don't really have any guys that I think might flip. They all seem pretty locked in from what I've, my conversations I've had with them. They all seem pretty locked in, seem pretty ready to be out in Oregon. We actually have, I think, almost all our defensive commits are enrolling early, so that's really exciting to see. Dan Lanning, has put a big emphasis on getting them out, so that's really exciting. But I don't really think any of our guys are going to flip. I think we're pretty solid, and I think Jeremiah would be a massive get for Oregon. And as for building that wide receiver room, building depth, there's going to be some competition between Jerion and these guys, because it is just such a deep room, and we have so much talent on our wide receivers right now. It's crazy. And somebody asked me the other day if I was concerned about, we haven't really gotten anybody in the transfer portal for wide receiver, yada, yada. And I was like, no, we'll be okay. We'll be fine. We have so much talent there. It will all be okay. But I think Jeremiah, I'd definitely keep your eyes on that 100% over the next probably couple weeks. And I don't think there's really much anything else that I would say, needs to be noted, but I think that's about the main news that you should probably watch is Jeremiah.
Yeah, we had a couple of decommitments, and that's going to happen. Michael Van Buren at quarterback, and look, we're stacked at quarterback. We had a transfer coming in, and he probably wants to go play. That's probably what he wants to do. So he decommits, and hey, if he wants to go play, he's from Maryland. Maryland Terps got an open spot after the Tuilaga, whatever his name is. Tuilaga is gone. So there's a position open there. So, you know what I'm saying? And if he wants to go play there. That would be great for him. And then, Jordan Anderson, we'll see. If they can grab J-Mac, that would be awesome, because I really like Jordan Anderson's tape. This is a small dude, shifty dude. But, decommitments happen. We're going to have to see what happens here. Let's move on here. Troy Franklin has declared for the NFL draft. This is big time. We all seen this coming, because in my opinion, look, Franklin will go down as the greatest player at his position in school history. In my opinion, Franklin has been listed as a potential first-round pick in the recent NFL mock drafts by ESPN. This year, he hauled in 81 catches, 1,383 yards, and 14 touchdowns. He set school records for catches, yards, and touchdowns this year for the Ducks. It will go down, in my opinion, as the greatest ever season by a wide receiver in Oregon football. So far in his Ducks career, Franklin has hauled in 160 catches for 2,483 yards and 25 touchdowns. His 25 touchdowns are the most in school history. Franklin also ranks in the top 10 in school history in receiving yards. He's 7th, and receptions, he's tied for 7th. So this guy is well decorated going into the draft here. Franklin was ranked as a 4-star prospect coming in, the number 43 overall player in the country, borderline 5-star, according to On3 Sports. And, shout out guys. Look, shout out guys like Josh Huff. Shout out guys like Jeff Mail. Shout out guys like Sammy Parker, Keenan Howery, Tony Hartley, Kristen McElmore. I mean, some of the awesome Duck wide receivers out there that I can shout out. But Troy, in my opinion, is just that guy, man. He just cemented himself as the best wide receiver with all these accolades, man. And in my lifetime, I've seen Jeff Mail, I've seen Josh Huff, I've seen highlights of the other guys, but just no one could take a game over. No one had the mismatch like Troy Franklin did. The way he can get open, his route running, his hands. I mean, Troy Franklin was elite, and I got to give it to him, man. In your opinion, I wanted to ask you: is he the best wide receiver in Oregon history? And what did you just like about Troy? What did you love about him? And he's a very soft-spoken guy. Talking about what I love about him, like soft-spoken dude. You see him in interviews, just really, really calm, real quiet dude, and never flashy. And I love the dude, how he's so humble, and he just goes out there and works, man.
100%. No, Troy's so down to earth. I mean, I've loved him since he came to Oregon, and even before, he's just been a great guy. And as for best wide receiver, I would probably say so. I mean, no offense to all of our great wide receivers out there throughout history, but I definitely think he's up there, and could compete with pretty much any Oregon wide receiver of all time. So no, he was great, and I mean, his numbers are crazy. His stats are crazy, and what he did at Oregon was crazy. I mean, he was electric, and I definitely think he'll be a high, probably first-round pick. But definitely, I would say no bias at all here, but I would say that he's the best wide receiver in the draft. So hey, listen, I think he's definitely probably the best wide receiver that we've had, and I mean, kind of sad to see him go because I wish we could have got another year. I totally get why he's going to the draft, and I wish him nothing but success in the NFL and for his future career. So, no, I love Troy, though. Great guy.
Yeah, man. Him being left out the Bolitnikoff Award list, not being a finalist was a complete joke. I mean, I get it. Romo Doomsday, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors. I mean, the only dude that I feel is like, really, really deserved it was Malik Neighbors, but like it could have been an argument between the other three. It could have been between Troy, Rome, and who was the other dude? Troy, Rome, and Marvin Harrison. It was just like Marvin Harrison was just there because of his name, dude. Like he did not put up the numbers that he should have, and Troy had better numbers, but it is what it is. It is what it is. We're moving on, and he's off to the NFL. All right, this is good news for Duck fans here. Bucky Irving did declare for the NFL. That was something we kind of seen coming. But guess what? He's going to come represent Oregon one more time in the Fiesta Bowl. He'll be joining Bo Nix in Oregon's backfield for the Fiesta Bowl against Liberty. He announced this on Friday afternoon. This is absolutely awesome, man, because Irving is one of my favorite backs that I've watched. Just, nobody brings him down. First guy doesn't bring him down. He can block. He can go out to the side and go get a good pass catch, go route run. I mean, this is a do-it-all back, and I absolutely love that he's coming back one last time for his boys, just like Bo Nix. We're going to see these guys just one more time because this is a special team, man. Only the 4th time in Oregon history that we had 11 or more wins. Think about that. I get it didn't end the way we wanted it. We didn't beat Washington this year. We didn't get that Pac-12 championship, but in the end, look back, we've been a college football team for 120 plus years, and this is only the 4th time we reached 11 plus wins. We as a generation of people, a human civilization that's living in this moment. I hate to sound all woke on you, but it's like this is special, man. This is dope, man. Like seeing this, and being there, experiencing it, 4th time in history. That's special, man. It doesn't get better than that, and just to have Bucky Irving one last time is awesome.
Yeah. No, getting to watch Bucky one last time, it's going to be pretty special. I was really excited when I saw the news. I was like, yes, Bucky's playing. No, but I think Bucky,
that's how we all felt.
I think any Oregon fan was like, yes. I think I literally probably screamed like, yes, Bucky's playing. No, but I think watching Bucky play it's gonna be fun to watch, and getting to see him one last time in the Duck uniform, running, trucking all these guys out here, Liberty. No offense to Liberty. Actually, all offense to Liberty. But no, I'm excited to watch him play and getting to see him out there one more time. And I think he was definitely, again, probably one of the best, Oregon running backs. He was phenomenal at what he did. And it was like every game that he played in, you just knew like Bucky was going to be Bucky. It was Bucky time. Every time he got that ball, you knew that he was going to do something special. And so, and you don't get that with every player. And so Bucky was just a really special guy. And I think it does the same for Troy. So I'm really excited to get to watch him play against Liberty in that last game.
Yeah, man. The thing that I loved about Bucky every time, and even my dad said this to me, and he's been an Oregon fan for a while. I haven't even seen a running back that just the first guy does not bring him down, dude. Like his balance and his will to just go forward and not get down on the ground is a whole nother level that I just haven't seen, man. Like he does not go down on that first guy. He's either making a miss or if he gets hit, he's carrying guys for another 2-3 yards. And he's smaller, but he has some power to him, man. And former Minnesota running back came in for 2 years here at Oregon, and each year he rushed for 1,000+ yards in each one of those seasons. So congrats to Bucky Irving, man. I hope you have success in the NFL because, man, you battle, man. You battle, and I could see the grit. I could see the soul and the passion for football for you, man, and it's great. Okay, guys, I think that wraps it up for today's podcast. For joining us, appreciate everybody. I'm here with Malachi Staten, host of the Ducks Focus podcast. Man, where can we find your work at?
You can find it over on Instagram at Ducks Focus. The podcast is on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm sure you can find it there.
Bam, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you subscribe Ducks Focus Podcast, DuckZone503 Podcast. We're on all platforms. The podcast, you can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify. We go live when we do these podcasts, so it's going to be awesome to have live. Everybody on IG, we had Instagram Live for the first time. Man, this is awesome that I can go on Instagram Live and do this with you guys. Shout out StreamYard for allowing this to happen. And we're going to be making this a common thing now. We're going to be on IG Live, so catch us on here. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, hit that like button. If you're listening on Spotify, please rate the podcast 5 stars. Really important that you do that. Giving you guys weekly podcasts on all things Oregon football, recruit interviews with the players that Oregon is targeting. And I give you all the latest updates on all our social medias at DuckZone503. If you're not following there already, please do so. We talk all things Big Ten ball as well as we enter as one of the newcomers to one of those elite conferences, man. I appreciate everybody tuning in once again. I'm your host, Dominiqk Peterson. This is the DuckZone503 Podcast. We talk all things Oregon football. As always, guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Go Ducks.
Go Ducks.